little one. Join us!
This yokai does not merely follow behind you from a distance, rather. It embodies a bizarre and cruel set of laws that separate life from death, existing far beyond the reach of human logic or rational understanding. Today, we shall delve deeper than ever before into the truth of the Okuri-okami, the sending wolf, exploring its mysteries through the multifaceted lenses of folklore, psychology, and biology to uncover a profundity that surprises the more one learns. I wonder, after you have listened to every single word of this vast and sprawling narrative to its very end, will you truly be able to walk alone down a cold, dark night path ever again? Even if you feel a chilling gaze piercing your back, you must remember the golden rule. Under no circumstances are you to turn around and look behind you. The most defining characteristic of the Okuri-okami lies in its relentless pursuit of human beings while maintaining a strictly fixed, haunting distance. It manifests in places where human presence should be absent, such as desolate mountain passes at midnight, or the deep, suffocating silence of ancient forest belts. In appearance, it is indistinguishable from an ordinary wolf, yet its eyes are said to harbor a terrifying intelligence capable of cornering prey, and a bottomless, primordial hunger that chills the bone. These creatures never initiate an attack on their own whim. Instead, they cling to you like a living shadow, perfectly synchronizing their movements to the rhythmic sound of your footsteps. This strange, forced accompaniment continues until you reach your destination, or until your physical and mental strength finally fails you. Imagine, if you will, the sheer psychological horror of hearing footsteps, other than your own, constantly trailing a few paces behind you in the oppressive darkness. It is a persistent war of nerves that wears down the spirit, far more than the physical distance might suggest. Have you ever experienced that inexplicable shiver, a feeling of being watched when you were supposedly alone? What was truly standing behind you at that moment? Please, share your mysterious experiences with us in the comments section. Let us paint a more detailed picture of the atmosphere in which the Okuri-okami appears. The time is the hour of the ox, when even the trees and grass are said to sleep, or perhaps the hour of the demon, that twilight moment when light and shadow blur, and the boundaries of our world become frighteningly thin. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth, the peculiar aroma of decaying leaves, and the sharp, piercing fragrance of conifers drenched in night dew. The ground beneath your feet is treacherous and unstable, with exposed tree roots writhing like serpents in the gloom, seemingly intent on tripping you up. In such a setting, there is a moment when the air behind you suddenly becomes heavy. This is not a physical weight, but a crushing mental pressure born from being subjected to an intense, predatory gaze. From a neuroscientific perspective, this occurs as the amygdala, deep within the brain, senses a biological, moving entity through minute refractions of light and echoes of sound, triggering a massive release of adrenaline. Your blood vessels constrict, your heart rate leaps, and your breathing becomes shallow and ragged. In this state, your instincts will scream at you to look back, but you must resist that biological urge. The Okuri-okami is waiting, with bated breath, for the exact moment. You display a single flash of weakness. The tracking behavior of the Okuri-okami is difficult to classify as a mere preliminary hunting maneuver. In reality, a wolf's hunt is usually a short, efficient affair involving pack coordination or a sudden ambush from the rear. However, the Okuri-okami intentionally makes its presence, known by treading loudly on the leaves, and walks with you for hours, sometimes covering several kilometers. This resembles a ritual or an act of territorial expulsion. From a folkloric perspective, mountain paths represent the boundary between the human village and the wild mountain, and any human passing through is an interloper from another realm. The Okuri-okami is testing whether this intruder intends harm to the sanctuary of the mountain, or if the individual possesses the virtue and resolve necessary to tread this path. It is, as mentioned before, a graduation exam for the spirit. If you succumb to terror, panic, and flee, It signifies your defeat against the laws of the natural world. Conversely, if you can endure the fear and continue walking with dignity, you are recognized as a temporary denizen of the mountain and are escorted safely to the other side of the boundary. In this encounter with the Okuri-okami, there is an ironclad rule that must be observed. You must never fall down during your journey. If your feet stumble and your knees hit the ground, the silence behind you will be shattered instantly. The wolf does not miss the opportunity provided by a weakened prey. It is said to pounce ferociously upon the fallen human and tear out their throat. Yet a strange piece of wisdom has been passed down to survive such a crisis. If you should happen to fall, you must not simply collapse instead. You must pretend to sit down, intentionally calling out with an air of composure, "Heave-ho!" or "Time for a little rest." It is believed that if you can convince the wolf you are resting by choice, rather than falling out of weakness, you can avert the attack. Let us dive deeper into the psychological signaling hidden within the phrase. Dokoisho or heave-ho. This word carries a weight far beyond a simple grunt of exertion. It is a powerful message to the observer that you are in total control of your situation. Wolves are highly intelligent and keenly perceive the psychological state of their targets. If the wolf concludes you are shivering with fear and have tumbled pathetically, it signals mealtime. However, if you show a calm demeanor, as if to say the spot where you fell is actually a perfect place for a break, the wolf's calculations are thrown into disarray. Because of its high intelligence, the wolf begins to doubt, wondering if you have a hidden trump card or if you are luring it into a trap. This single moment of hesitation creates the narrow window of time that saves a human life. Furthermore, reading this rule through the lens of brain science reveals that it performs the vital function of suppressing panic. Tripping in total darkness is a maximum-level stressor in a survival crisis. If you scream and scramble to get up, you are likely to stumble further, exposing yourself in a completely defenseless state. However, the act of vocalizing the word dokoisho forces the prefrontal cortex to reboot. Conscious verbalization calms the rampaging amygdala and restores cold, calculating reason. Thus, this rule is not merely a superstition, but a highly rational survival method for extreme conditions. Legends of the Okuri-okami are widely distributed across Japan, from the Chubu region to Kinki, Shikoku, and Kyushu. While the names and specific traits vary by region, they all share a dual nature: the wolf as a mountain deity and the wolf as a terrifying man-eating beast. For example, in Kochi Prefecture, it is called the Okuri-inu, sending dog, and is similarly said to attack those who fall. On the other hand, traditions remain of expressing gratitude at one's doorstep for a safe escort, offering a single straw sandal or scattering salt as a sign of respect. In the mountainous areas of Shikoku, the Okuri-inu is often depicted as a remarkably honorable entity. One legend tells of a woman who went into labor on a mountain path. The Okuri-inu formed a protective circle around her, guarding her from other ferocious beasts until she could give birth. In this instance, the dogs were not stalking prey, but protecting life at its most vulnerable moment. After the baby was safely born and the family showed proper gratitude, the dogs reportedly departed with a look of satisfaction. This reflects the guardian deity aspect of the Okuri-okami. They deal death to those who break the laws, but offer supernatural protection to those who strive to live earnestly or show proper respect to the mountain. Conversely, in the mountains of the Tohoku and Shinshu regions, the Okuri-okami is emphasized as a strict guardian of order. It is said that if someone who has defiled the mountain or cut down trees unlawfully walks the night paths, the Okuri-okami will never leave their side, keeping them in the depths of terror until they reach home. Upon arrival, the wolf will violently beat upon the gates and howl until the person repents for their sins. This can be viewed as a social mechanism, where the protection of the mountain, as a shared resource, was rooted in the public consciousness. Through the form of a yokai, they were perhaps beings that expelled impurity or punished those who disrespected the land. Over time, we may have forgotten this awe of nature, choosing instead to view them only as objects of fear. Analyzing the Okuri-okami from a biological perspective reveals that it strongly reflects the actual habits of the Honshu wolf, which once inhabited the Japanese archipelago. Wolves are highly intelligent and may engage in tracking behavior to monitor humans entering their territory. This is not always for hunting. It is often an exclusionary action to ensure the intruder leaves their domain. Ancient people felt the glint of wolf eyes in the dark and heard the rustle of bushes, defining these sensations as the phenomenon of the Okuri-okami. The Honshu wolf was officially declared extinct after the last specimen was captured in Nara Prefecture in 1905. Yet, even more than a century later, reports of wolf-like sightings or the sound of their unique howls persist in the deep mountains of Chiji-fu and the forests of Kyushu. While zoology considers survival highly unlikely, folkloric perspectives suggest the wolf has been sublimated into a spiritual existence that transcends the physical. The biological Honshu wolf may be gone, but their role, as the watchmen of the mountains and their lingering presence, remain deeply etched into the unique topography of Japan. If they continue to protect the mountains as spiritual entities even after losing their physical forms, it might be a type of residual haunting or a phenomenon where the land itself replays its memories. The sensation of being watched, that science cannot explain, might be the proud gaze of a sovereign ruler who once looked down upon humans from the top of the food chain. How do you view the possibility that a creature supposed to be extinct is still right beside us? That chill you feel in the mountains might actually be a kind of thermometer they use to measure our survival capabilities. In modern times, the term Okuri-okami has taken on a different meaning, referring to a man who pretends to be kind by walking a woman home, only to reveal his predatory intentions when her guard is down. However, even this modern usage stems from the original dual nature of the aim, yokai seeming to just follow along, only to show its true colors the moment the other person weakens. Perhaps the ancient yokai have changed their forms and blended into the human relationships of modern society. Bared fangs hidden behind a mask of superficial kindness might be more terrifying than an encounter on a mountain path. What is the mountain path of modern society? It may be the wilderness of information where one cannot see another's true nature, or the urban crowds where people pass each other wearing masks. An advisor who approaches with a kind face, or a stranger who offers a hand when you are in trouble, are they truly sharing your destination? Or are they waiting for you to fall? We must look beyond the wolves of the night and discern the true nature of those standing beside us in broad daylight. Have you ever felt an unease towards someone close to you that felt like the presence of an Okuri-okami? That discomfort is your innate, wild, defensive instinct. There is a very interesting episode regarding the Okuri-okami. A traveler walking a night path was being followed by one. Though trembling with fear, the traveler managed to reach the village safely. Upon arrival, the traveler bowed deeply toward the wolf in the darkness, said, "Thank you for the escort," and left behind the straw sandals they were wearing. It is said the wolf emerged, took the sandals in its mouth, and vanished back into the depths of the mountain. This story speaks to the strange contract and bond of trust that can exist between humans and the supernatural. If one follows the rules and shows courtesy, the object of terror becomes a reliable bodyguard. Have we, living in the modern world, forgotten this dialogue and etiquette with the unseen? Nature is not merely a place for leisure. It is a different world governed by its own laws and order. Are we paying the proper toll to the Okuri-okami, the gatekeeper? This toll is not money. It is the awareness that we are in a place that does not belong to us, and the respect we show for nature. To those who forget manners, the Okuri-okami is a cold reaper, but to the humble, they become the only understanding companion on a lonely night road. Fear is directly linked to our survival instinct. The reason the legend of the Okuri-okami has survived for so long is that it is not a mere fantasy. It awakens the primitive alertness toward the wild that we inherently possess. Reacting sensitively to a single sound on a path and worrying about what is behind you was once the wisdom needed to survive in harsh nature. As science progressed and the night became bright, we lost the true darkness. Yet, it feels as though the darkness within our hearts and the anxiety toward the unseen have only increased in different forms. The Okuri-okami may still be making its footsteps heard today to remind us of the harshness of nature we try to forget and the humility we ought to possess. They force us to recognize darkness not as an empty, inorganic space, but as a living darkness, where something awe-inspiring moves. This sensation sharpens our dulled senses and draws out the actual feeling of being alive. We have explored the true identity of the Okuri-okami and the meanings hidden behind it, the rule against falling, the rituals of gratitude, and the modern linguistic shifts. When all these are connected, one truth emerges. The Okuri-okami is a being that stands on the border between the outside world and the human world, serving as a mirror for our own hearts. If you enter the mountain with malice, it becomes a terrifying predator. But if you step forward with respect, it may become your one and only companion to lead you through the lonely night. Next time you are walking alone and hear footsteps from behind, do not panic instead. Quietly offer your thanks in your heart. However, you absolutely must watch your step. The moment you fall, the story ends. When those footsteps finally stop, you may find yourself reborn as a better person or as a part of nature itself. When you cross the boundary and see the lights of your home, whisper "thank you" without looking back, and you will likely feel something quietly vanishing into the darkness behind you. The story now reaches its climax. Is the true identity of the Okuri-okami the spirit of an extinct wolf, a messenger of the mountain gods, or perhaps the wild side of ourselves projected into the dark? The answer is only known to those who have actually encountered it. Yet one thing is certain: ancient Japanese legends always contain a warning for humanity. Do not underestimate nature, do not fear solitude, and above all, do not expose your own weakness. The Okuri-okami delivers these lessons to us seasoned with the spice of terror. What is it like outside your room right now? The sound of wind hitting the window or a small noise from the hallway, is that truly just a physical phenomenon? Or is it that your consciousness, having finished this story, has slightly opened a door to the boundary that was once closed? Even if, at this very moment, you hear a faint, heavy breath right behind your chair, you must never, ever look back. The dialogue with the Okuri-okami may have only just begun. They are quietly and patiently waiting for you to return to that deep darkness once more. Whether your next step aligns with the footsteps of another depends entirely on the reverence for nature held within your own heart. This concludes the story of the Okuri-okami. Thank you very much for staying with me until the end. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. Also, please turn on the bell icon notifications so you don't miss the latest urban legends and yokai stories. If you have any mysterious experiences around you or requests for specific yokai you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments section. I'll be waiting for you next time, ready to open the door to another terrifying world you don't yet know. Until then, watch your back tonight.